What's up, folks? Vince here, Pharmacide. I know this next video was supposed to be the Comfortably Numb cover, but as I was working on that, it actually kind of prompted me to do this video, because when I went to, start gathering my things, like I'll explain it in that video, but just as a precursor, I had actually recorded and filmed Comfortably Numb like towards the end of January, so it was a month or two back. So when I started trying to get all my files together and all that kind of junk, I just ran into a bunch of issues with finding things and things being it was just really crazy. So it made me think of, the importance of this video it's a nuts and bolts video, and it's just about procedures in your, workflow of your music, obviously it'll apply to a lot of different things, but just as an indie musician and a kind of a nuts and bolts video with other indie musicians, a lot of people probably already practice this and know this and have went through it, but me going through it right now, just wanted to share my experiences. And it just took me a while to find my drum stems for it, and then when I did find them, the drumless track for the song that I had found was the wrong one, and I didn't realize that until I actually started trying to do the premixes and stuff, and I'm like, why is things sounding off, and I'm like scratching my head, and I'm thinking, and then I finally realized that it was the wrong file. Like it was I had played to a different drumless version when I recorded my drums. So it just, like I said, those things just started making me think, hey, the importance of, and then like I said, in this video it's about procedure, meaning, things like having standards and protocols, and I even got myself a note for this. I'm trying to be a little bit more professional with things moving forward, and policies and notes. And what I mean about all that stuff is, like, when I was looking back, looking for the music for this and stuff, and as I started going through the rest of my file structure of things, it's not like I never had procedures. It's just that it seemed like for every new project there was a new procedure that was implemented, and so it's like, like I said, that's the point of this, because one of the big points is, after all the other things of the standards, the protocols, the policies, and the notes, it's consistency. And then consistency, and I even wrote it down, new changes have to be implemented everywhere, which is the big thing. Like, I would start doing something different, but then if I don't change all my old projects to reflect the same file structure and work habit, it doesn't really, it's good moving forward. But if you ever have to look at anything that's which I recently had to do, and that's what I started realizing, and I even got some pictures to put up here. This is the folder for Devolution, which was supposed to be the next EP after Be Horror Story. And if you look at it here, there's all kinds of different songs from, I think there's even, there's just all kinds of things in there that shouldn't be in there, that should be in other folders. And just when you're exporting from, different, programs, sometimes you're naming your stuff, but you're forgetting to change the file structure as you change projects, and things just get jumbled. So it's like, my next picture is here of the file tree for the Book of Golems, and by then I was trying to do things once again a little bit more neater, and it's like, you can get in here and you can see the folder for Golem Battle, and I mean, you can see where things start getting built up as well in this folder too. So it's like, I started thinking, okay, for one, I need to, like, at the very least, the file structure of all my projects needs to be the same. So it's like, there has to be the same folders, because the projects are all going to be, you know, the same. It's going to be music. It's going to, some of it might be a YouTube video, some of it might be, you know, whatever. But the point being is that there should be a file structure that is in place for all those things. And you know, it makes sense when as I build the file structure, which is what I'm doing now. And it's like Comfortably Numb is kind of like the taking a sip of coffee here actually this time, which ironically, it's instant coffee. I never in my life thought I would ever drink instant coffee, but I actually, the coffee maker broke a little while back and I couldn't get a new one. And so I ended up, you know, I mean, I would have had a new one probably by now, but I ended up having to buy instant coffee, and drank a cup and was actually like, wow, this isn't really bad. So I've been drinking instant coffee lately. Anyway, so like, yeah, this is like the initial, like the maiden voyage of my new method and file structures and stuff like that. And even to the point of, like, I started realizing just how like when you mix music and everything, obviously it's going to be dynamic per the song and the frequencies that are, you know, being used and all that kind of stuff. But I started realizing, for one, there should be some bass standards that I start off with, which I wasn't really doing before. But for one is, like, this picture here is of Audacity, and this is me doing the pre-leveling for, and I don't know why, well, I know why. It's because I never really figured out how to use, I think it's called Edison in FL Studio. And Edison is, I guess, what to me seems like the equivalent of Audacity in FL Studio, but I never really learned how to work it. So I started out with everything using Audacity, so I'm comfortable with it. So I kind of pre-mix everything in there. And what I mean is I brought all the drums in, as you can see, and I'm just making sure that all of the drum files, at least for right now, and unless I decide to change it to make them lower in the future for whatever reason, but right now I'm exporting all the different, you know, mics, overheads, bass, snare, toms, you know, the room mic and everything is all coming at a peak of -3 dB. And you know, and then from there I bring it into FL Studio, and which is, now you're going to see the mix setup, which is my new setup for FL Studio. And it's what it is you'll see I have the music, which is you know, in a song that I'm writing, it would be and Awakenings is a little bit different because that was just a quick and dirty YouTube. But like if it's an actual new Pharmacide song, I'd have bass, you know, and then the lead and rhythm guitars in channels 1, 2, and 3. But for this, I just have the music in channel 1, and so you'll see I got, you know, I'm skipping channel 2 just to give it a space, and then it's the overheads, it's the bass, the snare, tom 1, tom 2, and the room mic. And then from there, I'm skipping 1 and I'm bouncing over to the drum bus, and all of those are routed to the drum bus. And the only thing that I have is on the master bus, there is a leveler that's usually, they set it at 0 dB. I always tune it down to -1 dB, and then I always move that up a slot and put a like a loudness meter in there, so I can get the proper LUFS for streaming and stuff like that. Um, but so anyway, it made me really realize the importance of just having all these protocols and everything, because it got so confusing, even though it didn't take me that long, a couple hours, but it's the type stuff where it's still a couple hours. It's a couple hours that's, it's not the worst stress in the world, because it's like, okay, worst comes absolute worst, I re-record it, refilm it, and put out the video at a little bit of a later date or whatever. But it's just like, I know I have this stuff, and why don't I have it more organized, kind of thing, and you're just mad at yourself. But like I said, I really now at this point, so one of the projects I need to do now is going back on all of the old stuff and redoing the file structure, so everything is at least the same file structure. And then like the moving forward with like the mix stuff, that is something where and I'll get a little bit more detail into how I laid out the mix and all with the drum run, the actual cover video, because that's really talking about it. But I just wanted to give you the general setup with the pictures and stuff here of how I was kind of setting things up, and then you did kind of get to see the finished product of how I had it leveled for the mix. But like I said, I'll get into more detail with that. This was just really about, especially I don't really think it matters experience level. It's like I said, I'm sure there's some bands out there who've been doing it forever. You might be like, oh shit, yeah, we need to do that too. And there might be other people who are just starting out. Oh my God, I mean, I've already been through that in other areas of my life, and no, I want a definite file structure for things and all, and just a plan. It's going to walk the spectrum. But I just wanted to give my 2 cents with it, because it's not the first time this has happened to me. It was just like the last straw kind of time. Like, I just can't believe it. I haven't like really sat down and done what I just did here. So, like I said, just a benefit to everybody. Just have a protocol, have and notes. That's one thing I didn't mention yet, was take notes. Meaning, I took notes on my mixes this time. I didn't take a picture of that yet, but I took notes. Like, I put a note, everything leveled at -3 dB on the drum stems. I put another note as I was doing the mix. This is the settings on the mix, and this is why they are. And then, because that was like really the first mix I came up with, and then I had the second mix, which added the reverb. And so I had notes mix number 2. Added reverb to the to the first bit. I didn't change anything else. I just added the reverb, but still, anyway, we're getting into, but like I said, like having notes on what you're doing, and that gives you like, because if you need to look back at something, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've said, I mean, I wrote the effing thing. Of course I'm going to know what I'm doing and everything when I go look back on it. Why wouldn't I? But when you start looking back on 2-3-year-old projects, and you're scratching your head thinking, shit, what did I do? It's like I said, that's why having a structure, and even not only having a structure and there's and procedures and notes and all, but even having like a cheat sheet on what the structure is, so that if you ever go away from things for a year, 6 months, or whatever, you can look back, okay, this is the file structure of things, this is how things are supposed to be, these are the standards. Like -3 dB for stems is going to be a new standard for me. I might end up bringing it down to -6 or something, but that's going to be just through trial and error. But it's still, I'm going to have a standard for everything, so it starts out in a mix at the same place. And but anyway, there's the video. There's what I wanted to talk about. I'm down to the point now where I'm just doing the mastering on Comfortably Numb, and just got to film the tail end part of the video. So that should be coming out pretty quick after this one. Keep it metal, everybody. Have a great day. And spring's going to be coming soon, so it's going to be time to start cleaning and killing wasps. All right. Have a good one, everybody.